I cut my money cost of living by 40%, and honestly, I didn't even have to try that hard. I just moved across the Causeway. If you're Malaysian working in Singapore, you already know that feeling. Decent income, exchange rate feels like a superpower when you go home for the weekend. But somehow, at the end of the month, nothing much left to save. This video is about the real numbers. What it cost me to live in Singapore, what it cost me now in JB, and exactly how I budgeted for a 1-year career break with no income expectation. I'll try to be as specific as I can. If you're curious about living in JB, hope you'll find this useful. As I told you before, the whole point of this channel is to be honest about what this move actually looks like. Let's start with Singapore. My situation was a bit different from regular employee. I was freelancing, so my income was project based. I didn't get salary every month. Some months good, some months can be nothing. But as a freelancer, you are also covering your own CPF. There's no employer covering half of that for you. So whatever the number sounds like, the take home is smaller. Anyway, where did it actually go? Rent, 1,003. If you know Singapore's market, you already know what that gets you. A common room in someone else's HDB. Food, 1,002. Eating simple. Hawkers and food centers mostly, nothing fancy. Transport, 300. Mostly public transport and Grab when it makes sense. Gym was $88 per month. Groceries, 200. Phone bill, 20. I went with the cheapest plan I could find. Then there are items that doesn't care which country you are in. My IRAS and CPF gyro, 660 per month. Insurance, average 150 a month. Subscriptions, this is interesting. YouTube Premium, Spotify, ChatGPT, your iCloud. It's small individually, combined is over $100, and I send 1.5k ringgit home every month. That's around 476 Singapore dollars. A lot of Malaysians working in Singapore do this, and nobody talks about this. It's not a complaint, it's just part of the math. So my follow you everywhere cost is 1356 Singapore dollars. Add it all up, you're well over 4.4k per month. That's before anything unexpected comes up. In Singapore, that's just enough to exist. Want to travel a few times a year or spend a bit going out? Saving anything becomes almost impossible. Here's the part nobody tells you about earning okay in Singapore as a foreigner. The income is real, but so is the cost structure that comes attached to it. You're paying Singapore prices on everything, meeting Singapore social expectations. And if you got obligations outside Singapore, family, insurance, loans, those don't just disappear because you live somewhere expensive. I wasn't broke, I was saving, but the margin was just thinner than it should have been. And when I actually started thinking to take a break, the first question I need to answer is, if I stop earning now, how long do I actually last? That's the Singapore side, now JB. These are not estimates, by the way. It's based on what I spend on actual move-in week. Rent, 2,000 per month. Fully furnished, 550 square feet, 1-bedroom apartment with my own kitchen and bathroom. Food, 500 ringgit. Eating out maybe once a day, cooking the rest. Still figuring out the actual rhythm. Transport, 500 ringgit. Mostly Grab, plus the occasional day trip back into Singapore. Gym stays the same, 88 Singapore dollars, 277 ringgit. Groceries, 500 ringgit. Prices here are just different. Utilities, 300 ringgit. Internet and Malaysian phone bill. So here's the total. We follow you everywhere, cost included. Total money burn in JB, 8,348 ringgit. At current rates, around 2.65k Singapore dollar a month. That's a 40% cut in burn rate just by crossing the Causeway. So how long can I last? I got enough to cover 12 months of burn rate in JB. In Singapore, at 4.4k a month, that same money gives me maybe around 7 months. In JB, at 2.65k, this stretches to a full year. Same savings, different city, completely different outcome. My hard deadline is June 2027, 1 year. That's when I need to have actual income again, not passive income, real income. Wait, you might be thinking I'm burning a big chunk of my savings for an expensive break. I do have plan for the next 12 months, but that's for another video. The real insight in all this break, moving to JB, it wasn't made possible by how much I earned. It was made possible by how much I could cut. Singapore level obligations gave me a relative margin. JB level cost gives me a full year. That's the arbitrage. It's real. It doesn't work for everyone though. If you've got mortgage in Singapore, family to support there, or obligations that just don't compress when you move, the math will be completely different. But if you're single, you've got a portable skill set, and you still got ties to Johor, the window is still open. I just happen to use it. Let's zoom out for a second. The numbers I just walked through, rent, burned, runway, those are mine. Someone else doing the same move, the numbers will look completely different. But going through the exercise taught me a few things I didn't expect. I ended up splitting my expenses into two categories. Basically, forced myself doing that. Stuff that follow me no matter where I live. Stuff that change when my environment change. I've been thinking about the second list. That's easy to see. It's the first list that I almost got wrong. I had to be honest with myself here. JB rent is a fraction of Singapore rent. Food drops a lot too. But insurance, CPF, family money, none of that changed. If I assumed those would change too, my runway math would be off by months. And setting an actual deadline changes how real this feels. Not some vague, I'll figure it out when money gets low. I gave myself a specific deadline, one that forces a decision. Mine is 1 year out. Everything between now and then has to be realistic with that date in mind. Writing the numbers down made the whole thing feels more real, and honestly, more finite. Maybe that's the reason why I've been avoiding doing this for so long. So, that's the financial reality of this break. Thin margin in Singapore, move to JB, burn rate drops 40%, runway stretches to a full year. One hard deadline, June 2027. Everything between now and then, that's the experiment. Next video, I'll get into what I actually want out of these 12 months. What needs to be happen by June 2027 for this to feel like it was all worth it. See you there.